In this video, we're going to look at one of the key strands of anarchism. Now, all anarchists agree that a future anarchist society will be characterized by sovereign individuals, an absence of authority, an absence of the state. It will be non-hierarchical, anti-clerical, in essence, the core themes of anarchism. However, that's as far as anarchists agree on what a future stateless society would look like. And anarchists divide into two major camps or schools of thought as to what a future society would look like. The first strand draws on liberalism and can be described as a form of ultra-liberalism or individualism, with society completely atomistic. It's a collection of free associating sovereign individuals, often characterized by market-based relationships. It's classical liberalism taken to its ultimate extreme. The second vision of a stateless society draws on socialism, a form of ultra-socialism or ultra-collectivism, and it sees society as a collection of decentralized, non-hierarchical communities characterized by direct or participatory democracy. And so there are severe tensions within anarchism between these two alternative visions. And in this video, we're going to look at the second vision here, anarchism as a form of ultra-socialism or ultra-collectivism. Collectivist anarchism, sometimes called social anarchism, draws heavily on socialism and stresses the human capacity for social solidarity, or what Kropotkin called mutual aid. It is believed that humans are at heart as sociable, gregarious, and cooperative creatures, and the natural relationship between us is one of sympathy, affection, and harmony. Kropotkin himself countered Darwinian thinkers such as Spencer, who argued that humans are naturally competitive and aggressive, whereas Kropotkin suggested that the species are successful when they are cooperative, harnessing collective energies rather than being competitive. And he argued that this human trait for mutual aid had been subverted by the arrival of competitive capitalism. There are many similarities between collectivist anarchism and Marxism that you can see how it's been viewed as a form of ultra-socialism. Both collective anarchism and Marxism reject capitalism. Both reject the use of existing political structures to achieve social change, endorsing revolution as the preferred means of bringing about social change. Both have a strong preference for collective ownership, the absence of private property. Both believe a fully communist society would be anarchic, that is, stateless. Obviously, we've seen Marxists believe the state would wither away. And both agree that humans have the capacity to order their affairs without the need for political authority in a stateless society. However, there are significant differences between collectivist anarchism and Marxism. Marxism, and Marx himself was a critic of anarchists. He saw his creed, or Marxism, as scientific, where anarchism, he would argue, is utopian. Socialism has often been used to endorse statism, the use of the state. For example, state socialism in Russia, whereas, of course, anarchists are absolutely opposed to any form of state. They profoundly dismiss the idea of the dictatorship of the proletariat as the transition stage to communism, because anarchists draw no distinction between bourgeois states or proletarian states. States are simply evil and oppressive, so it doesn't matter whether the boot of oppression is on the left foot or the right foot. And they also dismiss the notion of any kind of evolutionary or parliamentary socialism as an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms. It's simply impossible to humanize capitalism, and the state itself is oppressive. So there are the differences between Marxism and collective anarchism. Within collective anarchism, there are a number of different strands or forms that collective anarchism could take. The first substrand of collective anarchism will be mutualism. And the idea of mutualism was most closely associated with Proudhon. Proudhon objected even to communism on the grounds that it subordinated the individual to the collective. Instead, he advocated mutualism. He was a big admirer of the independence and initiative of small communities of peasants and craftsmen, such as the Swiss Watchmakers Guild, who often managed their affairs on the basis of mutual cooperation. Although Proudhon famously argued that property is theft, He did distinguish between what he called private property and possessions, and possessions were not exploitative. It can be argued that mutualism is located halfway between individualist and collectivist strands of anarchism. So Proudhon's mutual aid or mutualism advocates a system of property ownership that avoids exploitation and promotes social harmony. Social interaction in such communities would be voluntary, mutually beneficial, and harmonious. These societies would be decentralized, non-hierarchical. There will be possessions, but they will be non-exploitative, and they will be managed through direct or participatory democracy. So one form of a anarcho-collectivist society could be based around mutualism. The second form the anarcho-collectivist society could take would be that based around anarcho-syndicalism. Syndicalism is a form of revolutionary trade unionism and focuses upon the collective ownership of industry and the economy by these revolutionary unions or syndicats. Anarcho-syndicalism draws on the crude notion of class war, with workers defending themselves by organizing syndicates or unions based on particular crafts or industries or profession. In the short term, the syndicates would act as traditional trade unions, but they would also have the aim of eventually overthrowing capitalism through means of a general strike. All the workers would simply lay down their tools, or what Sorrell described as a revolution of empty hands. Syndicalism had several attractions for anarchists, because both syndicalism and anarchism rejects conventional politics as corrupting and pointless, and both syndicalism and anarchism favor organizations that are decentralized, non-hierarchic, and characterized by direct democracy. So a future anarcho-collective society could be based around anarcho-syndicalism, as a collection of decentralized, non-hierarchical syndicats or unions characterized, again, by direct or participatory democracy. And the third form that an anarcho-collectivist society could take would be that of anarcho-communism. The anarcho-collectivist belief in social solidarity can also lead, therefore, to full collectivism or full communism, with the absence of private property, wealth being held in common rather than by individuals. And drawing on Kropotkin's idea of mutual aid, anarcho-communists favor a decentralized society characterized by small, self-managing communities. Kropotkin himself imagined this kind of society as being a collection of largely self-sufficient communes, each owning its wealth in common. And communal organization held a number of key advantages for anarcho-collectivists, that it strengthened the bonds of compassion and solidarity. Decisions again were made through a process of direct democracy, and communes were human-scale communities, allowing people to manage their own affairs through face-to-face interaction rather than any centralized system. So in terms of a future vision of an anarchist society, if we look at the anarcho-collectivist strand, it could take a number of forms. It could be based around the idea of mutualism, or anarcho-syndicalism, or anarcho-communism. And again, this strand draws very heavily on the ideas of socialism and can be seen as a form of ultra-socialism.